was thinking earlier today how in this vlog over the years I've gone on and on and on about my issues with personal space when doing things like going out shopping, and now not only are people in your face far too much, I've got the added joy of all of a sudden that being a dry run for God knows how many years into realising the lump in front of me might also be highly toxic. You got to be very careful when you do things in the public eye. And you know, one of the things that's amused me about the whole cult of celebrity is the amount of those people who are offering the world their view on all this, their completely naive and privileged view on this, and haven't got a clue until now as to just how badly they come across. It's just amusing seeing people who are so addicted to attention go without it. All of the mainstream avenues of finding a way to find adoration, all gone in the short term. Maybe changed forever, who knows. And it's amazing seeing Madonna in her tub, where probably the bath bomb she's using and the petals sprinkled about on top of the water, the equivalent to most people's wages for a month. And it's just amusing hearing her saying it's the great leveller. Imagine if COVID-19 had the smallest amount of awareness or consciousness. It would bypass every Hollywood mansion in favour of finding the projects and the council houses and the high-rise buildings where all the poor are stuck together, thousands high, you know, families all on top of one another. You know, you consider it's got a voracious appetite. I know where it's going to go for its lunch. You know, that collection of very bizarre stars who I don't think I recognised absolutely any of them, all combining together to sing the song Imagine. I've always found Imagine to be one of those songs that I think has been a little bit misrepresented or misinterpreted by people, because it's actually quite a darkly worded song. I think it's about stripping humanity back to its basics and looking at all of the things that give us comfort and saying, guess what, they're not real and they won't give you any comfort anyway. You know, it's a weird song to hear all these misguided people sharing. You know, it'd be like going to a Shoah Foundation get together and using Slayer's Angel of Death as the tribute song, you know. Not really appropriate sometimes, is it? In fact, thinking about Slayer and famous people doing stupid bloody things, Jeff Hanneman, their guitarist, died in 2013 of alcohol-related liver cirrhosis. Their backdrop is a Heineken logo, but instead of Heineken it's got Hanneman. That was his favourite tipple, ultimately what killed him. You know, it'd be like Nirvana getting back together and their backdrop being Kurt, you know, and there being an animated 12 ball blowing its load. It's amazing how short of the mark and wide of good taste some people can be. Even in my personal life over the years, I've had a few situations where I've thought, no, that's not right. And I remember in 1994, keep this brief, criminal justice bill was coming in to stop people just taking over people's land, raving, going hunt, sabotaging, and all kinds of protests that were just encroaching on people's land. Now, I'm not talking about whether people should be committing the acts that people want to protest against or anything like that. That doesn't even come into it, but I can understand why farmers were a little bit miffed about certain things. And there were a lot of people from the kind of rave community who said to me, you're coming up to the big demonstration in London about the criminal justice bill just shortly before it became the Criminal Justice Act. And I just thought, no, I can see exactly why this is being put into place. I've been to raves that were commandeering, you know, common ground and farmers' fields and everything, and just completely wrecking them, just in the name of young people having a good laugh. And the wreckage that was left was just beyond belief. You've all seen the photographs of Glastonbury after that festival ends and what it looks like. And I just thought, no, I can't have that lack of self-awareness where I have actually partaken in such things and have seen the complete level of destruction that is just left for other people to pick up, and pretend that the law isn't completely justified. Situation 20 odd years ago, speaking of people who should maybe think before opening their self-righteous mouths. So 5 of us sharing a house, but 2 people had got their name on the tenancy. They were scumbags to live with, and me and my mate who shared the house with them, we wanted a nice house, you know, even back in our 20s, and we cleared up, we did all the cleaning. You know, we kept the place nice, and then one day one of the people, they were in a bit of a sort of strange, they weren't in a relationship, but they were in a bit of a sort of weird one with regards to how their finances all worked together. And there was a bit of an issue with coats just being thrown on the sofa when everybody came in the house. And one of them had been to a very sort of cheap shop, you know, the sort of latter day version of Poundland or something like that, and bought a coat hanger that just hooked itself over the door. He didn't even have to do any kind of masonry work to put it up. And then we were taken to one side by one of the people who had bought the coat hanger and said, you know, it was not their name, but John's put the coat hanger up now. If you could just respect, you know, and be a bit tidier with the coats, that would be very much appreciated. You know, at the time we were just powerless, and it was a situation where you find yourself thinking, are you taking the piss? We clean and do everything in this house, but it's kind of stuff you don't always necessarily see, you know, the drains. We were the ones out there with a load of bleach and chemicals and a hose pipe and a broom cleaning it the other morning when it overflowed, before you even got out of bed. You know, it's one of those situations. It's just incredible in life how misguided people's ramblings and insistences can be. You know, you get the picture from it. I could go on and on and on about the minutiae of the shit that we had to deal with sharing that house, but it's pointless. You know what I could talk about. You know the issues. You've all been there. You've all been the ones being that tosser as well, as have I. But you know, it's just more energy from that sort of same scenario that we all recognise. Talking with somebody once about the concept of being penniless. My mother and father were, well, my dad was on the dole during the 1980s when I was in my teens. Lost his job on about 5 consecutive occasions. Was having to travel by train. He couldn't afford to run his car. He was having to travel by train alone, 30 odd mile round trip to go to a shop cheap enough to feed us all. And talking to someone, a friend of mine, who very middle class parents, after all that situation had come to pass and things were a bit better, and said, yeah, I really do appreciate what poverty actually means when it comes knocking on the door. You know, when my family's business went down, my parents, when they were out in Nova Scotia, were down to their last $250,000. You know, it was hand to mouth times. And I've got more of these little stories of people not recognising how privileged they are. A very middle class friend of mine confided in me in about 2006 and said to me, Dave, I'm worried. I don't know where we're heading. You know, me and my husband, we're not getting on. Things aren't good. He wants me to get a job, the husband, and you know, this person did have their problems, to be fair, which meant getting a job was not easy for them. But that I was 100% sympathetic about. But as the conversation went on, and that year I'd worked at Crisis for Christmas, leading up to Christmas. Not much, but I'd seen people on the streets, and it wasn't nice. I'd seen, you know, put my arrogance in check. Not forever, but you know, it was certainly an eye-opener. And she said to me, yeah, well, you know, I've got to get this job, and you know, the economy driving is already biting hard. And without any irony, she looked me in the eye and said, yeah, my husband's already cancelled my magazine subscription, and next week we've got to get rid of the gardener. You know, what this all boils down to is ego and living in your own comfortable bubble, which I try to challenge within myself and probably fail miserably a lot of the time. But to think that our own personal lot, where we are in life, is as bad as it gets, it's a temptation of fate that just isn't worth messing with. The concept of celebrity, since the whole world closed down late in March, those who don't think will just continue with it and will probably actively be missing it. There's a hell of a lot of people saying that the whole world has questioned celebrity culture, but no, those who think have questioned celebrity culture. It will continue. A lot of people are missing it dearly, and who are we to criticise? The life of the world is laid out there for people to consume, and some people haven't got the capability to think like others, and you know, who's to say those people don't deserve the trust in the system, the entertainment that the system offers? Why don't they deserve it, and why are they so wrong for believing the narrative and the lies? They're not guilty of anything except trust, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Got to take into consideration horses for courses and all sorts of people in this world, and the whole notion that a complete swathe of the world's interest and hobbies and what gives them warmth and a small amount of meaning in otherwise quite hollow lives. Who are we to say it's wrong? And to wish it gone, you're just showing a really underhanded attitude towards snobbery. You know, we all like things that are niche and other people wouldn't be interested in a month of Sundays. We just need to learn to respect that. But what I do hope comes out of all this is a situation where within the world, as it turns, people are a little bit more understanding and respectful of concepts like income, what you have, what others do not have, what you don't have and what other people do have, and a world where we kind of want to understand, not patronise and indoctrinate and insist that somehow we've seen it and had it worse than anyone else. I want people who are privileged beyond all belief to stop feeling that they somehow have the right to moralise and wax lyrical about the way people who have got nothing live their lives. So sick, as a lot of you probably have seen Ricky Gervais attacking at his Golden Globes speeches. You know, they have no clue as to how normal, average people live, yet still they feel they have some right to patronise us all. Stop using planes, stop using this, stop using that, stop poisoning the planet, but my private jet, it's essential, you know. It's all such hollow, and you know, I'm just adding to a vast echo chamber with talking about celebrity, but I think it has its place, and I think there are people it's very important too. The system isn't going to go anywhere with regards to capitalism and everything, and people want something to aspire to. It may be hollow, it may be meaningless to some people, but it means a lot to others. It just needs to be firmly entrenched and implanted in reality. And if anything comes of the COVID-19 crisis, I do hope that it is a little bit of a dose of self-awareness for all of us. People in mansions claiming that they're in the same boat as people who live in houses with literally hundreds of other people in adjoining flats. The impossibility of distancing yourself socially when you're so poor that you work in a place like Poundland or Sainsbury's. It's not to say that any of these jobs or places are bad places to work. You know, I really haven't got any attitudes about that. I'm just talking about the things that are seen as the bottom of the pile. Low skill jobs that now have become the only things that exist with regards to employment in this world. Right up to the day I'm speaking now, it's going to change again soon, but those who are seen as the lowest skilled and the lowest importance have become the most important people on earth with regards to maintaining our lives in this system. I just want, and you know, I hope that we have learnt our lessons, that we will see a more just and fair world for all. And Security, or the lack of it, won't take another life. Poverty and homelessness won't take another life. Alcoholism, due to the problems in the world, won't take another life. You know, it's all complete and utter pie in the sky dreaming, but I mean it genuinely. Yet again, there's a lesson in this for me, as much as there is anyone else. Just learning to think before speaking, before proclamations of apocalyptic poverty and levels of pain in life that eclipse other people's. I think that learning to speak from a neutral standpoint, where we don't immediately demand some kind of response, and when we don't get it we get angry, you know, it's so difficult to realise how far we've drifted from what truly matters, you know. But it is the case, and I think that it would be an absolute crying shame to progress anywhere in the world forward, you know, at this point in time, without at least some consciousness and awareness of it, and just a demand, just by maintaining the spirit of being good to one another that seems to have been fostered in this time since mid-March. You know, just take a little bit of it with us. We're not going to change the world overnight, but we've seen what's truly important. We've seen what isn't important, and let's just hold on to some of that, shall we? And start valuing the right people.
Hello, Dave.
All right, Geordie, how you doing?